The gate with no fence. Śūnyatā, ownership and the architecture of illusion by the Backyard Buddhist. The gate that guards nothing. There's a picture I can't shake. An old wooden gate standing in the middle of an open field. No fence, no boundary, no enclosure, just the gate. It's weathered, slightly crooked, hinges still hanging on like they remember what they were once for, and yet it guards nothing. Or maybe it guards everything. The mind that builds fences without wood. We tend to think boundaries are physical things, walls, doors, property lines. But the more subtle truth is this: the most powerful boundaries are conceptual. They're built out of language, agreement, habit, fear. Mine isn't a physical feature of reality. It's a designation, a mental imposition. And yet once it's named, we behave as though it were inherent. This is where Madhyamaka begins to speak directly. Nāgārjuna and the deconstruction of mine. The great philosopher Nāgārjuna doesn't attack ownership directly. He goes deeper. He dismantles the very idea that things possess inherent existence, svabhava. In the Mula Madhyamaka Karika, he shows again and again that nothing exists independently, permanently from its own side. Everything arises dependently, pratitya samutpada. So let's apply that here. If something doesn't exist independently, how could it ever be inherently mine? Ownership would require a stable self that owns a stable thing, that is owned a real boundary between them. Madhyamaka quietly removes all three. The self that owns, what exactly? Let's start with the owner. Who or what is the I that claims possession? Zen often approaches this through direct inquiry. Madhyamaka approaches it analytically. Break the self down. Body, changing thoughts, fleeting feelings, unstable perceptions. Condition: no single component holds up as a fixed self, and no combination of them forms one either. So the owner becomes unfindable. Not non-existent in a nihilistic sense, but empty of inherent identity. The object that is owned. Now let's examine the other side, the thing, the house, the money, the land. Each one is composed of parts dependent on causes subject to decay. The house depends on materials, labor, time, maintenance. The money depends on collective agreement. The land depends on legal frameworks and historical narratives. Remove the conditions, and the thing, as we understand it, dissolves. So again, where is the inherent object to be owned? The boundary that separates Muksa. Finally, the line between. This is where the gate comes in, because the boundary is the most fragile piece of the whole structure. It's rarely physical, it's conceptual. We draw it, we agree on it, we enforce it, but it doesn't exist from its own side. And yet we'll defend it as if it does. This is the gate with no fence. Śūnyatā is not nothingness. At this point, it's easy to misunderstand. If nothing has inherent existence, if ownership collapses, if the self can't be found, does anything matter? This is the classic misreading. Śūnyatā, emptiness, isn't nihilism, it's relationality. Things exist, but only dependently, provisionally in relationship. So your house exists, your money exists, your life exists, but not in the way you think, not as fixed, independent entities, more like waves, real but inseparable from the ocean. The violence of reification. Here's where this becomes ethically urgent. When we treat things as inherently real, fixed, separate, owned, we begin to act accordingly. We protect, we exclude, we accumulate, we defend, and often we harm. Because if something is truly mine, then others are threats, loss is catastrophic, accumulation is rational. This is how greed becomes normalized, not as a moral failing, but as a logical outcome of a mistaken view. Money, value, and collective delusion. Money is perhaps the clearest example. It has no intrinsic value. It functions entirely through shared belief, and yet it governs. Access, power, survival. We've collectively agreed that it matters, and so it does. But there's the paradox. The more unreal something is, the more fiercely we seem to defend it. Meanwhile, human life becomes negotiable, ecosystems become expendable, suffering becomes invisible. This inversion is not accidental, It's the natural consequence of mistaking conceptual constructs for reality. The koan deepens. Let's return to the line. We don't want the outside getting in, and we sure as hell don't want the inside to escape. Madhyamaka sharpens the question. What inside? What outside? What in? What out? Without inherent boundaries, these distinctions collapse. And yet, we experience them vividly. That tension is the koan. When you look closely, there's no fence. When you look honestly, there's no owner. And still, the gate remains. Two truths, why the gate still stands. Madhyamaka offers a crucial framework here. The two truths, conventional Tramvraj Satya, ultimate truth, Paramartha Satya. Conventionally, you own things, boundaries exist, money functions. Ultimately, none of these have inherent existence. The mistake is collapsing one into the other. Zen tends to resolve this not through explanation, but through embodiment. You still use the gate, you just don't believe in it. Walking freely in a boundless field. So what does this look like in practice? It doesn't mean abandoning responsibility, it doesn't mean rejecting the world. It means holding everything lightly, using what's needed, letting go of what isn't, recognizing that nothing can truly be possessed, secured, lost, only participated in. Compassion as the natural outcome. When the illusion of ownership softens, something unexpected happens. Compassion arises, not as an obligation, but as a natural response. Because if nothing is truly separate, then suffering isn't separate either. This is where Madhyamaka and the Bodhisattva path meet. Emptiness doesn't lead away from the world, it returns you to it without clinging. Closing reflection. The Backyard Buddhist. I just keep coming back to that damned gate. At first it looked absurd. A gate with no fence. But then it hit me. It is absurd, but it is also real. We each have this gate built in the field of our mind, and we carry it everywhere. Now it feels honest, because it's showing me something I already know but don't always see. That I've been standing there too, guarding something I can't keep, protecting something that was never mine. And maybe the practice isn't tearing the gate down. Maybe it's simpler than that. Maybe it's just stepping through and realizing there was never anything on the other side to lose.